So hello guys, and welcome back to our video in our channel as we look into the match, post-match tactical and match review of Chelsea's victory over Newcastle. As I had said in the preview, that it's not going to be an easy game. It's not going to be a walk in the park for Chelsea, and majority of fans have actually come to see what I said. But Chelsea in this game displayed some level of maturity, or especially on how they managed to control the game. You can see very well that the possession stats were almost 50-50, and this is because towards the later stages of the game, Chelsea were trying to be much more lethal in terms of transitions, and this is actually putting another dimension for Chelsea's game. Now, before even I started this analysis, I just got the news that Erik ten Hag has been sacked, and this is actually going to influence our preview on the Manchester United fixture that is supposed to actually happen in the weekend. And does his sacking actually affect how Chelsea are going to play or the result in that game? That is something we're going to talk about in our match preview. So let's look at the lineup. So Maresca decided to go with a new starting 11, different from the one that he picked in the Conference League, with only Pedro Neto who came into the starting 11. And you can see very well that he's preferring to have Lavia and Caicedo together because he sees them as players who can give steel to the midfield, allowing Cole Palmer to have that sense of freedom to move all over the pitch. But questions still linger on Robert Sanchez. On the other hand, Newcastle decided to retain the 4-3-3 formation. And Newcastle, a team that has not performed quite well this season, actually wanted to come to Stamford Bridge and try to change their fortunes. And in this game, they tried to create a lot of chances, and sometimes they put Chelsea in difficult situations, and I'm going to explain to you why. I have received some support from you guys, especially through some super thanks. Now the issue is that whenever somebody tries to send to sponsor a video or try to share something with the team that is working on these videos, YouTube usually cuts around 45%. So I suggested that we can use Lemfi and use the Mpesa application to actually channel any form of assistance to our team or request a sponsored video in our channel. We'll highly appreciate your help. Now, Enzo Maresca actually showcased a level of maturity in this game, and even in his post-match analysis, he talked about how he never wanted this game to go end to end. And that's why he wanted Chelsea to control the game. And controlling the game involves controlling the game with and without the ball. Now, if you really enjoy our videos, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Majority of you are watching our videos, but you're not subscribed. Please subscribe. So, Newcastle came to Stamford Bridge and they actually wanted to play front foot. And this is because a lot of teams have not given Chelsea the much needed respect that Chelsea needs. Because so far, only Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace gave Chelsea respect at the Bridge, but majority of these teams are coming full throttle at Chelsea when they come at Stamford Bridge. And Newcastle were not different, deciding to press Chelsea in a 4-3-3 kind of system. And initially we saw Chelsea moving into that pseudo back four by having their goalkeeper playing as an extra centre back and pushing one fullback in midfield. You can see from this clip. Look at the position of Robert Sanchez. He's looking to play as an extra centre back in this kind of case, and allowing himself and Colwill to create that two-man advantage over Isak, making it very difficult for Newcastle to press Chelsea. Now Chelsea had to come up with ways in which they could beat this, because Newcastle were using their two attacking eights to try and cover both Lavia and Caicedo, while using their wingers to cover the fullbacks. So in this case, Chelsea decided to use Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson in different ways, with Palmer dragging out Guimaraes out of position and Jackson dropping deep to receive the ball directly from Robert Sanchez. And we saw Robert Sanchez time and time again looking to play these balls onto Nicholas Jackson, and Jackson would pull a fullback because Jackson will drop so deep that he will create problems. Because if Newcastle decided to go man-to-man pressing with Chelsea, then Jackson will drop so deep in positions where centre backs will not follow him, and if they decided to follow him, Jackson will just turn, leave them behind, and actually transition with the ball forward. And because of Jackson's excellent link-up play and excellent ball retention, This allowed Chelsea to have some bit of transition moments throughout the first half. Majority of those moments fell to Noni Madueke, but he was unable to capitalize. But some, actually even the first goal that was disallowed, was courtesy of Nicholas Jackson dropping deep. Alternatively, sometimes when Newcastle decided to go man-to-man even with Sanchez, he will decide to go long and try to find Cole Palmer. And Palmer sometimes will receive the ball in space, even sometimes beat Guimaraes and immediately look to transition the ball forward, mainly looking to try in and play Pedro Neto. And that is what actually transpired in Chelsea's first goal, the way he managed to turn and play a carefully weighted pass in behind for Pedro Neto. Now Chelsea again decided to use, Newcastle established themselves in a 4-5-1 without the ball, looking to try and limit Chelsea, while Chelsea wanted to create that front five when they are looking to attack. Now, things were quite different to the way Chelsea usually look to play in these kinds of scenarios. And how was this quite the difference? Now, because we know very well that Newcastle's high press some of the times was not quite effective and actually gave Chelsea transition moments, we identified Chelsea heavily relying towards the left, especially with Reece James. And Reece James in this left-hand side was looking to play those passes that Enzo Fernandez gives Chelsea in these kinds of system. And those passes were the cross-diagonal passes that Enzo Fernandez likes to play to Noni Madueke. The good thing is that Noni Madueke staying wide actually gives Chelsea that outlet whenever they look to try and shift the ball from one side of the pitch to another, catching the opposition quite off guard. And you can see this with the body language in which Reece James receives the ball. He receives the ball from Colwill, looks to cut in with his stronger right foot, and immediately looks to play that ball towards Noni Madueke. And when Noni Madueke receives this ball, he immediately looks to run. And that's why Chelsea have looked as the team that is very, very lethal in transitions, because Maresca has set up this team in a way that it makes it even dangerous for the opponents to play against them. Now, Chelsea adopted a different strategy during build-up in this game, not the usual strategy that we've seen. And one of that strategy is using Malo Gusto in the right half space and using Cole Palmer in the left half space, shifting Cole Palmer from right to left and tucking Reece James from the left back position to a wide centre back. But Reece James in this position, his main aim was to try and ping those diagonal balls from these kinds of positions. And in my opinion, it is better to have Reece James in the position that Gusto occupied rather than having Cucurella in that left-sided centre-back, because Reece James is more lethal in attack than Gusto, because Gusto's shooting is also not quite great, and we saw how he missed some very easy chances that we know very well if they fell to Reece James, Chelsea would have had a goal. Now, Chelsea were looking to play those balls to their wingers and look to draw in Newcastle's fullbacks so that they can have their inside wingers looking to make runs in behind, and where they could easily look to attempt cutbacks so that they can create problems for Newcastle. But Dunban was looking to stand strong, and this is why Chelsea even had a lot of corners. And another thing that we need to talk about is why Chelsea cannot even score through set pieces. I'm going to do a video on that. Now, when you look at that, you realize that sometimes even Cole Palmer would drift out wide to receive the ball directly from the Reece James and look to play the ball towards Pedro Neto. And once the ball will be paid to Pedro Neto, he will immediately look to make runs into that half space region so that he could receive the ball and look to play in Nicholas Jackson in behind. And this really created a lot of problems for Newcastle, who are trying to stop Chelsea's aggressive play. Now, Newcastle decided to sit in a 4-5-1 to try and limit penetration. But there comes Lavia and Caicedo, who are very strong and very smart enough to pick players such as Palmer and Gusto in between Newcastle's defense and midfield lines, creating a lot of problems for Newcastle when they tried to settle in a more settled possession and a more settled face. Now, Chelsea, once they managed to get their lead, they decided to be quite passive, looking just to retain their position and try to hit Newcastle in transitions. Now, Chelsea looked to press Newcastle aggressively high initially in the game, with Palmer taking up the left side while Jackson taking up the right side, playing as a two-striker system, with Palmer looking to press and force the ball to be played out wide. Now, Pedro Neto's role was to try and cover Livramento and prevent Newcastle from playing these balls. Now, one thing that we saw against Liverpool and one thing that we've seen even in this Newcastle game is the targeting of Malo Gusto during these phases. Now, because Chelsea are quite aggressive and man-oriented when it comes to their pressing, teams have come up with ways to try and play balls directly towards Chelsea's backline. And how do they do that? Now, when Chelsea decide to move in an aggressive press, teams have decided that they will not try to play through Chelsea, but rather will try to go direct. And one way teams have decided to do this is targeting the positioning of Malo Gusto, to be precise, because they know very well that if they play towards the side, Chelsea will employ that side overload and actually neutralize them and look to win the ball off them quite easily and look to transition, especially since that is what Chelsea actually want the opposition to do. So what they do is that they try to isolate a stronger winger together with Malo Gusto and try to play long balls. And because Malo Gusto is not physically strong, he loses those duels, and we saw Joel Linton being the player who will move to Gusto's side, and Newcastle will target the area where Gusto is and play those long balls over the top. And that's why towards the second half, Enzo Maresca had to shift and change Gusto and take Gusto off and place Reece James down the right and push Cucurella down the left. And this is how you can even see it. They have the ball, they can see the ball, but Livramento is already targeting to play that crossfield ball, especially to Malo Gusto. They have identified Malo Gusto as a kind of defensive weakness for Chelsea when especially facing physical opponents or players who are very aerially dominant. And because of this case, Chelsea need to try and work a scenario where they can actually change and have Gusto not starting in the Premier League fixtures, but having Cucurella back into the team, because Cucurella is better aerially and is a left footer. And because of that, you've seen Chelsea's right hand side being exploited by opponents a lot, and this is creating a lot of problems for Chelsea in games, creating defensive issues. And that's how actually Newcastle managed to cross the ball for Isak to actually score Newcastle's only game. Now, when you look at what we are currently seeing, is that we're seeing Enzo Maresca not being the kind of manager that everybody expected. This is a manager who's able to manage the game and ensure that his team get the 3 points. He's not insistent on playing from the back. He's not insistent in retaining the philosophy, but rather wants to see his team use and capitalize opportunities in games. He knows he has players such as Palmer and Jackson who are currently on form, who can win him games. And again, he wants to set up a system where he can control the game and disallow the opponent the breather to actually create problems for Chelsea. As I repeat again, I would like to see Marc Cucurella coming in for Malo Gusto so that Reece James can reassure the right back position while Cucurella solidifies the left back position. And Cucurella can invert into the back line, allowing Reece James to invert in midfield, and Reece James will now be the player who will be creating problems for the opponent down the right, allowing Cucurella to give defensive solidity at the back. If you've enjoyed this analysis, do not forget to like, share and subscribe. As I have said earlier on, you can request a video, you can try to support the channel. Everything will be appreciated. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.